Okay, had some pretty good films so far. Let's see what treasures await today. Oh no. Okay. Another double feature. We have Troll and Troll 2. Now playing. Troll! Oh, wait a minute, that's the wrong Troll movie. Troll Hunt. No, not Troll Hunter. Troll! Just plain old ordinary Troll. And Troll 2. Quite an interesting double bill, especially since Troll 2 has absolutely nothing to do with the original Troll. It was a name-only sequel just to cash on in the moderate success of the first one. So let's talk a little bit about both of them. Now, everybody knows, I think, about at least the notoriety of Troll 2 as being the worst movie ever made. So there's already been quite a lot said about that. I mean, its cult status is legendary, which is one of the reasons I was really looking forward to checking it out, because I'd actually never seen it before. The first I'd heard about it was that YouTube meme that's been going around forever of the clip of the guy saying, "They're eating her! And then they're gonna eat me! Oh my god!" That one, you know. I'm sure you've seen it floating around the tubes of you. So, Troll. Troll was actually an Empire Pictures film. It was one of the first ones they did in their new studio digs. They actually bought the old Dino De Laurentiis studios in Italy. And apparently just a massive lot of studios and back lot and just everything, just a massive place there. So it gave them a lot of freedom, so they wanted to make the most of it, so they were commissioning a lot of movies and just kind of making whatever they could get their hands on. So Troll was one of the first movies they did there, and there was a few things that they had floating around. I mean, one of which was a script that actually later became Ghoulies. So Troll was almost Ghoulies, but Troll actually became its own thing. And rather than doing more of sort of the R-rated horror, which Empire had kind of been known for up to that point, they decided to do something a little bit more family-friendly. So this is very much, I think, a suitable for family viewing horror movie. I mean, it's very, very PG rated. There's a couple scenes there's really no blood and guts in it. There's a couple scenes that might be a little bit rough. I'll get to that when we get to that part. But overall, it's really not any scarier than your average Goosebumps episode. So I mean, feel free to fire it up with the kiddies, as long as your kiddies aren't the type that are really easily scared by really not scary things at all. So, Troll 2, much the same. It's actually quite innocent. The main protagonist of it is a young boy whose best friend is the ghost of his grandfather. So it's actually, kind of sweet and touching, and it's cheesy as hell for the grown-ups, but I think it's something that kids would really dig, because again, it's really not much scarier than your average Goosebumps episode. So let's talk a little bit about the first one, because nobody ever talks about the first one. So the first one, basically, this sort of white middle-class family moves into an apartment block, and we start off, they're meeting the neighbors and everything. I should mention the name of the father. The father is played by Michael Moriarty, and his character's name is Harry Potter. Yes, Harry Potter. Now, this came out before the Harry Potter books, even, so there's no ripping off here. Purely a coincidence. But a lot of people jokingly say, this is the original Harry Potter. If you want to see where it all began, check out Troll. Yeah, so Michael Moriarty was already fast becoming a pretty well-established actor. He was still kind of slumming it in B-movies and whatnot at the time, just kind of establishing himself. But it was already pretty clear right from the get-go that this guy was going places and that, he had some serious acting chops. So there was one little behind-the-scenes story about Troll where there's a scene where him and the family are piling into the car to go somewhere. And the director came up to him and put on like this, fisherman's hat. One of those hats with the little holes around it and the kind of goofy rim and stuff. Yeah, kind of like what Gilligan wore. But it's like your standard, all-purpose, generic fisherman's hat. So he went and he put that on him, and then Michael Moriarty was just like, he was kind of struggling with his character and how he should play the father and stuff. So the director goes up and puts his hat on him, and Michael Moriarty just kind of mutters to himself, I look ridiculous in this thing. And then it's like a light bulb went off. He's like, wait a minute. Am I ridiculous? I'm ridiculous. So is that the character? He's ridiculous? And that became the key to unlocking his character. And the dad is just such a hoot in this because he's like the typical goofy, embarrassed to be seen in public with him kind of dad, like the one where the kids just kind of cringe. He's got this thing for collecting old records, like on vinyl. Loves, old rock and roll records and stuff. And there's a delightfully cringe-inducing scene where he puts on some records and he's dancing around the apartment like so horribly. But he is so into the music, and that's his moment, man. And he doesn't care that he might look like a goofball. He's just loving his music and his collection. And as a fellow collector myself who dances around the room to movies, yeah, I don't actually really do that at all. But I related to that on some level anyway. This was a man loving his collection. And, so anyway, Michael Moriarty, lots of fun in this. You'll recognize a lot of faces in this, actually. We got Noah Hathaway, who was fresh off of The Neverending Story. He played Atreyu in The Neverending Story. You've got Sonny Bono. Sonny Bono as, like, this sort of sleazy swinger guy who's like, you better not let the kids anywhere near me because I get a lot of hot chicks coming up there, blah, blah, blah. He's just so full of himself. He's like the typical, almost like lounge lizard type. Thinks he's all, God's gift to women and, hey, how you doing? But but he really is not. And he just obviously has a blast just hamming it up as this sleazeball character. You've got Gary Sandy, who, for some reason, I just couldn't place his face. I totally recognized him. I was like, where do I know him from? He was Andy Travis on WKRP in Cincinnati. Yeah, so you get Andy Travis in this. And you got Julia Louis-Dreyfus. This is actually her feature film debut. So she's one of the neighbors as well. And you've got June Lockhart, the mom from Lost in Space, as sort of the good witch who lives in the building. And then an interesting bit of trivia, her daughter, Anne Lockhart, actually plays the same character when she was younger. So, pretty interesting. So you got quite a cast, I gotta say. Like, for just what at first glance you might think is a sort of low-budget horror movie, suitable for family viewing. You've got quite a cast of recognizable faces on there. And, from all different eras of television and film. And this was one of the things that Empire Pictures was really kind of having a heyday with, was the fact that they had these big studio digs and they were in Italy, so, the dollar at the time was apparently very strong, like the US dollar, so they could get a lot of value out of their money. And they were able to afford to hire these big-name stars to come in and appear in their movies. So that was pretty cool. I should mention also, and I thought this was actually really cool, the actor who plays the troll, Phil Fondacaro, also plays another character, like a university professor type of guy, who's really into mythology and things like that. And but it was great because he's not only playing the monster of the movie, but he also has this pretty significant alternate role as well. So that was pretty cool. Honestly, I didn't know what to expect going into this movie because I hadn't really heard much of it. I remembered seeing the cover around, like on the VHS tape, and I just kind of, it just didn't really uh, grab me, so I never got around to watching it. So I really had no idea what to expect going in. And essentially, what we have here is a story of they go into the building, or they move into the building, and the little girl goes off exploring, and she meets up with a troll that's living in the basement of the building, just kind of hiding there. And the troll actually possesses her, like takes control of her. So then it begins to systematically go from one tenant to the next and persuade them to invite it in. And after being invited in, it has like a magic ring, and it's using the magic ring to turn the tenants into magical creatures of all different types. No other trolls, oddly. They're just all other weird creatures, goblins and nymphs and weird fairies and stuff like that. So then it turns out that the good witch, played by June Lockhart, actually used to know this troll before he became a troll. He used to be human. And essentially he's been, I guess, trapped in our world, and so what he's trying to do is recreate the fantasy world that he's from here on Earth. And what will happen is, if he succeeds in they exist in two worlds. Like, there's the fantasy world and there's our world, the real world. So what he's doing is he's transforming all the tenants into these fantasy creatures to break down the barrier between those two worlds. So if he succeeds in transforming all the tenants, then it will rip open the doorway and Earth will become the new fantasy world. Like, our world will be taken over by the fantasy world. So yeah, so he's basically just trying to make his own world, essentially, starting with this apartment building. So it's a fun little story. So obviously they got to stop the troll. They got to stop him from transforming all the tenants. They got to try to get the tenants on their side, whoever's left, and it's kind of a race against time. But it's fun. It has this kind of dark fairy tale feel to it that honestly I think kids would really dig, just as kind of a slightly scarier kind of fairy tale thing. It's like just scary enough, but it's not overly scary. I mean, most of the protagonists in this are kids. I mean, you got Noah Hathaway, who was just a kid himself at the time, and then his little sister, who's even younger. She's maybe like Rosie's age, my daughter. So she's like 9 or 10, and yeah. So basically, they have to stop him with the help of the Good Witch. So yeah, overall, fun little movie. I actually really enjoyed it. So that's one I'm probably going to revisit from time to time, because I just found it really charming and light and fun. Just a fun little horror fantasy movie that that I can watch with the young ones. So that's pretty cool. So that brings us to Troll 2. Well, first off, take a look at the cover here. Yeah, so they got this big menacing creature coming down the stairs after this little kid, and he's all scared. And yeah, well, that the creatures in the movie don't look anything like that guy. That guy looks pretty awesome, actually. Would have been cool if he was in it, if that was like the troll in it. But nope, nowhere in it. While the main character is a little boy, it's not that little boy. It's a completely different little boy. So bravo! Another example of cover having nothing to do with the movie. But it doesn't stop there, because it's called Troll 2. Well, first off, it's a sequel in name only, so it's actually not a sequel to Troll. There are two other movies, by the way, referred to as Troll 3 and Troll 7. I know one of them is, what the hell is it? I think it's Contamination Point 7 is Troll 3, and then something else is Troll 4. I don't even remember. But yeah, we'll be talking about The Curse a few reviews from now, and that's similarly cursed by having name-only sequels. And the other thing is, there's no trolls in it. It's actually not a movie about trolls at all. I mean, Troll was a movie about a troll. Like, literally. That's the guy you see on the cover here, that's the dude. That's the troll in the movie who is doing trolly things. He's trolling the apartment block. Just trolling the hell out of them. Trolling it up, man. Doing it for the lulz. Troll 2 is actually about goblins. In fact, I think the original title was going to be Goblin, or Nilbog, which is goblin spelled backwards. Oops! Spoiler! Yeah, so this involves a family that's going on a family vacation to this little town called Nilbog. Now, we, the viewer, aren't idiots, and we know that that's goblin spelled backwards, like, immediately. Especially since the opening scene is actually the little boy hearing a scary story about goblins from his grandfather, who we quickly learn has actually passed away sometime before. So he's actually hearing a scary story from the ghost of his grandfather, which is actually kind of nice and touching when you think about it. It's like the ghost of his grandfather is still hanging out with him. He's not a scary ghost. He's just hanging out, telling him stories and watching out for him. He's kind of like his guardian grandpa ghost. So, you know, that's kind of cool. What little kid wouldn't like to have a guardian grandpa ghost to hang out with all the time, you know? So they go to Nilbog, and oh my god, the acting in this. It's just, I keep flashing back to moments of, there's this scene where the teenage daughter of the family is talking to her boyfriend, and I've already blocked out all of the dialogue, but I just remember the performance. It was so forced, and like just I was already laughing my ass off at just how bad the acting was. Now here's the thing: when they were making this, they put out a casting call. A whole bunch of people answered. All of the actors who were in this originally auditioned to be extras. They didn't realize they were going to get the starring roles in the movie. But I mean, what extra is going to pass up the chance to have a starring role in a movie? I mean, come on, the pay's better, and you know it's way better exposure to show off what you can do. Sometimes there's a reason why extras remain extras. Let's just leave it at that. But that's it. So I mean, it was okay. Now, honestly, I can't fault the actors because they didn't expect to be in that situation. They're just kind of thrown into it. So I mean, to their credit, they give it their all, man, and they're real troopers, and they really try. But holy moly, the acting in this. There's a wonderful, touching scene where the mother comes in to comfort the young boy, and the dialogue in this is it's just so awkward. It's like, me, your grandfather's daughter, and I can't even. I've blocked it out. I've totally blocked. I watched it not that long ago, and I've already blocked it out because it was just so cringe-inducing. But I just remember more of my sort of feelings at the time, which was. It just completely taken aback by how awful these actors were, but then understanding once I found out what the behind the scenes story was, but also just laughing my ass off at the badness. And I from like 2 scenes in, I could already see, yes, I get it. I understand why this is such a cult favorite, because it's one of those hilariously bad movies. Okay, it's one of those ones that's so bad that it just becomes so much fun to watch. Like, this really is a textbook example of so bad it's good. So here's the thing about the goblins in this. The goblins are vegetarians, but they want to eat you. So figure that one out. So the way they get you is basically by tricking you into eating something from Nilbog. Because in Nilbog, all the food is infected. The townspeople themselves don't eat it. They eat people who come to visit. So what they do is they convince you to eat some of the food there, and what it does is it has some kind of chloroform chemical thing in it that basically transforms you into a vegetable. It just like turns you into this green mush that the goblins can then eat. So then they eat you. And so a large chunk of the movie is them trying to get the family to eat things. The ghost grandpa convincing little Billy, or whatever his name was, to stop them from eating because it's going to, get them killed. There is one classic scene I do remember, which is, the grandpas, they're basically doing like an exchange, like it's a family exchange. So they're coming to live in one family's house who lives in Nilbog, and that family's going to live in their house in the city. Um, they meet the family, and they part ways, and they sit down in the dining room, and there's this huge spread that the Nilbog family has left out for them. It's just like tons and tons of food. So like, oh, fabulous, let's eat, and then Ghost Grandpa shows up and says to little Billy, it's like, Billy, you gotta stop them from eating. Just do whatever it takes to stop them from eating. And apparently, originally, it was going to be a little bit more elaborate than that. He was going to like throw a tantrum and just throw the food all. It was something simple like that. Instead, the director said, no, let's do something else. So what little Billy decides to do is he gets up on a chair, faces the table, unzips, and pees all over the food. Now, the camera cuts away just as he's unzipping. It's like, what he's about to do, and that's good. So that was a good bit of directing and / editing there, because it was an appropriate cutaway. We didn't need the details there. We knew what was about to happen. So, cut to his father dragging him down the hall, and he's saying, they got names. The Nilbog families put their names, like the city folk families' names on all the doors, indicating what bedrooms are theirs. And he's dragging little Billy down the hall as I got him hiked up over his shoulder, and he says, "Look at these names. You see these names on the door? You know what that means? Hospitality." And he throws him down on the bed, and he says, "You don't piss on hospitality." That's like one of the all-time favorite lines, apparently. You don't piss on hospitality. So there you go. So what the director had said to him is like, no, forget that. You stand on chair, you piss on table. And then that was what they did. He said, don't worry, we'll cut away. You just, you stand up, you unzip, they'll know what's going on. And so that's what they did. So it essentially becomes a big race against eating. And the thing that struck me is like, wow, they've been in this town a really long time over the course of the movie. They must be just like dizzy from hunger by this point, because little Billy keeps ruining all their meals and slapping food into their hands, and just they cannot eat. Now, okay, there's another set of characters that are here, namely the teenage girl's boyfriend and some of his chums have basically followed them to Nilbog. They've got like an RV, and they're camped just kind of outside the outskirts of the city. And so they go off to do some shopping and stuff like that. And one of them gets lost, and then another one goes out to look for him. So he goes out to look for him, and he sees this girl running through the forest, and she's kind of scantily clad. So he catches up with her, and he's like, hey, can I help, and blah blah blah. And so she's on the run from something. So it turns out she's on the run from a group of goblins, and so he's trying to help her. He thinks that it's just a bunch of kids dressed up and scaring her. And to be fair, the goblin costumes apparently were literally off-the-shelf Halloween masks and like burlap sacks. That's it. That's the goblins. There was one mask that they cut so the mouth could move a little bit. All the rest of them just kind of stand like like just dead face. No emotion, no life there at all, and all the life is just through the body language of the performers. So basically, they get chased through the forest by the goblins and end up at this house, and they go into the house, and there's like all this stuff all over the place, there's plants and things everywhere, and this woman shows up, and it's just this kind of strange gothic librarian type woman who shows up, and they're like, here, why don't you have something to eat, and blah blah blah. So the girl eats something, the guy eats something, the guy gets paralyzed, the girl starts sweating this green sweat and goes running upstairs and quickly devolves into green mush and just kind of sinks into the floor. That effect actually wasn't bad, to be honest. Like, they just kind of drop her through the floor and then pour in this green mush, so it looks like she's transforming into green mush. And then the goblins show up, and they they start eating her. And that's when the line comes in. And I got this big grin on my face when the line happens. Like, oh my God, there it is. There's the line. I finally have context for it. Oh my God. Oh my God. So anyway, so the line happens. And the reason that he doesn't just run away, and this is something I'd always wondered because I hadn't seen the movie, it's like, why doesn't he just run away? He's like standing there watching. They're clearly way up there. He's way down there. Why doesn't he just run away? Well, the reason for that is simple. Because he's actually paralyzed. Yeah, the stuff that the creepy weird lady gave him paralyzed him. So the creepy weird gothy librarian lady's name is Credence Leonore Gielgud. And she just delights in saying that name. And call me crazy, but am I the only one who actually found her really, really incredibly smoking hot? Like, seriously, totally my type. Like, 100%. Just the sexy, gothy, kind of kooky librarian type. Yes. I will eat your green jello and become a tree for you. So the oh my God guy, she apparently has other plans for him. She kind of likes him, thinks he's cute or whatever. She decides rather than turning him into Goblin Chow, decides to turn him into a tree. Hence my comment just now. So basically she's watering him and feeding him and just sort of, and he's slowly transforming into this tree. And so anyway, long story short, it's tons of fun. It's just so bad and so ridiculous, but at the same time, it is such a blast. Like you just have so much fun reveling in the badness. Like you really do. Like you watch it, and it's at first you can't believe how bad this is, and then you just kind of get into it and start. I mean, it does have a point to it. It's not a pointless bad movie. The writer apparently was trying to make a bit of a statement against vegetarianism, because a lot of her friends had just become vegetarians, like hardcore vegetarians, and she was just sick to death of hearing about it. So this was kind of her response to that, as she wrote that. And the director, just wow, what an interesting character. He really believes that he was making some serious art here, and more power to him. I mean, I kind of look at him as an Ed Wood type, where he definitely had a vision, but perhaps was not as skilled as a director as he thought he was, and wasn't able to fully realize that vision on screen. I don't know, but it's interesting because now this edition comes with Best Worst Movie, which is actually a feature-length documentary all about the making of Troll 2. And in particular, it actually follows the actors over the course of the past few years as they're hitting the convention circuit, just kind of as the movie has gained this big cult status and cult notoriety. There's a lot of footage of them at conventions, a lot of interviews and such. There's quite a lot with what's his name, George Hardy, who played the father. He's actually a dentist. He just kind of did the acting thing for fun. I was an open audition. He got like one of the lead roles, and it's like his big claim to fame now. It's like, hey, I was in the worst movie ever made. And he loves it. He loves it. Best Worst Movie is such a blast. By the way, I mean it's great to see sort of what the actors are up to now and things like that. Some of them enjoy the notoriety of the movie, others not so much. Like the actor who played the kid, for example, isn't overly thrilled with wasn't overly thrilled with the convention thing. And he's like, yeah, you know what, I don't think I'm ever going to do this again, because he said the problem that he was having with it was the fact that and this is true for anyone who's just kind of this is like the thing with typecasting, basically, where you only become you could have done 50 movies in your career, but people only remember you for this one thing. And he said that's the thing, is like with the convention, I mean, people are coming here for one reason, is because you were in that movie and they want to talk about that movie. and they don't really care about anything else about you. Like that's all they know about you. That's all they want to know about you. And he didn't like that. He found that really shallow, and just did not enjoy the experience, unfortunately. But George Hardy, however, he was all over it, man. It's like, yeah, I'll do the line for you. I'll, do some quotes for you, and he was just eating it up, man. But what a cool guy! Like, just a really fun, down to earth guy who's got a very successful dental practice, and is absolutely thrilled to have been in the worst movie ever. So, yeah. Overall, I mean, honestly, I could probably go on and on about Troll 2 until dawn, but I don't know what I can say about it that hasn't been said a million times already. I mean, I just kind of gave you my personal key things that resonated with me, and there you go. Take it as it is. If you're looking for a really bad movie that's actually a lot of fun, check out Troll 2. I don't think you'll be disappointed. It's genuinely bad. I mean, it comes by its reputation very honestly, but at the same time, it's a hell of a lot of fun, and that's really, I think, what watching movies is all about. I mean, bottom line, were you entertained? And yes, absolutely. I was entertained by both of these, actually, and I will revisit both of them again and again. So I'm very glad I picked up this awesome set from Scream Factory. Troll, the first one actually here has about an hour's worth of behind-the-scenes extras, including like a 40-minute making of documentary. That's where I learned about a lot of stuff about the early days of Empire. They talk about that and sort of how Troll fit into that history. And then Troll 2 doesn't actually have any extras on the Blu-ray because they've got Best Worst Movie, which is freaking hour and a half long documentary, and then a bunch of additional material on there as well. There's about 2 hours worth of material. Now, I should mention the Best Worst Movie is only included with basically the first pressing of this double feature disc. It was just kind of a limited time thing. So if you get it and you find it doesn't have the movie, don't worry, it's not a mistake. You probably just got a later pressing. Now, the good news is Best Worst Movie is available on its own as well. It did get an individual release, so you can, if all else fails, you can always pick up the DVD on its own. It's not on Blu-ray, it's only on DVD. So yeah, you can pick it up on its own if you miss out on it. Alrighty, well, quick thank you to my Patreon sponsors, especially my highest level sponsors, Kyle Pellegrini and Get Your Gorgeous On, the always wonderful eMag maintained by Michelle O'Toole and Simon Hedger. And I will see you next time. So, I guess we got to pick a chocolate bar. What the hell? Where'd all the chocolate bars go? Seriously? Oh, well, lettuce it is. See you next time, folks. Until then, thanks for watching, and sayonara. Troll! Wow, it's gone through me already.